Morning everyone, it's Helena here. Welcome to episode 2 of our weekly webcast, diving into the world of TrueStart and sharing what's on my mind as well. So it's Monday the 7th of September and I am on my second vanilla coconut cold brew coffee of the day. So that's what I'm drinking this morning. And today I'm going to be telling you all about the link between coffee, dopamine and feeling good, which I hope will teach you something maybe new that you didn't know about the world of coffee and caffeine and the impact on the brain, which is a super interesting topic. But first, what has been going on at the Energy Hub? So last week we had a Pimp Our Dalgona coffee competition, which was wicked. If you guys don't know what Dalgona coffee is, it's a glass with ice and your favourite milk, and then topped with whipped TrueStart coffee that's like blended with sugar, and you whip it up into this lovely, like chocolatey looking meringue peak style coffee. And then chuck as many of your favourite toppings on it as you possibly can find. So popcorn and chocolate and whatever else you can find. So it's really indulgent and really fun. So each of us made a Dalgona coffee. Harry and Nate's entries were like half drunk by the time we got around to the photo. Their argument was that it was too irresistible to resist, so they should have won. Then we had a beauty of a classic Dalgona coffee by Paige. Claire got involved virtually in a snazzy, fancy glass bottle, which looked pretty cool. Simon did a super fancy Dalgona in a martini glass with a bit of Salt Bay. And then I did a turbo. I used our cold brew coffee instead of milk. And I have to say, I think I was absolutely robbed of the victory. You guys voted for Simon's Fancy Dalgona as the winner on Instagram. Well done, Si. So on to coffee, dopamine and feeling good. I have been utterly blown away by the response to my webcast and Tracy Otsuka's podcast interview about neurodiversity. It is so obvious that everyone, whether neurotypical, neurodivergent, everyone's interested in learning more about our brains. And you're not alone. It's a subject I'm totally obsessed with. Although I have to say, the more I learn, the more I realise how incredible brain surgeons and neuroscientists are, because, my God, it is a massive, complex subject, isn't it? Well, I suppose that's really obvious. But a subject or a topic I've been asked a fair amount about is the link between coffee and the brain and caffeine in the brain, including how it makes us feel good. So I'm categorically not a neuroscientist or any type of scientist for that matter. So this is just simply me imparting some of the fascinating stuff that I've been learning about. So coffee, I mean, it is so obviously a big part of many of our lives. It's actually been making humans feel good since the 15th century, believe it or not, and possibly before. That's just when it was first documented. It's really an intrinsic part of human life all over the world. Coffee is also the reason that caffeine is the world's most widely consumed psychoactive substance. So it's good to learn more about it. And the list of what coffee actually does for us is like really extensive. From stuff that most people already know, it makes us feel alert, it helps us with cognition, and things like burning fat so we can gain extra energy for physical performance. It's jam-packed with antioxidants, including polyphenols. Which is just one of the reasons actually that coffee is linked to reducing the risk of various diseases, including type 2 diabetes and liver diseases as well. So there are several studies on the benefits of caffeine for memory, learning and slowing down cognitive decline as well. And for the most part, caffeine's enhancing effects are attributed to the fact that it antagonizes our adenosine receptors in our brain. So adenosine is what makes us feel tired. And on a temporary basis, caffeine kind of tricks us into not feeling tired, to put it simply. But it has also been established that caffeine is protective to our brains. It makes it resilient to stress, makes our brains resilient to aging and even neurological conditions or diseases by protecting our neurons against different toxins. So, for instance, there are several clinical trials that have placed caffeine as a neuroprotective agent against Parkinson's disease, which is just fascinating. And on top of this, caffeine has been shown to increase dopamine receptor availability in a part of our brains called the ventral striatum. This part of our brain is associated with our limbic system, so our emotions and our memory. And it's a really important part of the circuitry that affects our decision-making abilities and reward-related behaviours. So interestingly, caffeine doesn't actually increase the production of dopamine. It just increases the receptor availability, right? So even more excitingly, there's this paradox with caffeine and dopamine, that caffeine has been shown to improve dopamine signaling in our brains, but also prevent against the negative effects of excessive dopamine signaling. So this is like a properly game-changing revelation, especially for people that are living with the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of inhibited dopamine flow. And more of us are affected by these sort of neurological differences than you might think. For me, it's really one of the things that makes us all so unique. But personally, with a brain that, functions with an unusually low level of dopamine, thanks to low dopamine receptor availability, coffee effectively helps me treat that and function much better on a daily basis when it comes to especially executive functioning skills like working memory and helping with focus and impulsivity and organisation, as well as my overall mood, motor control as well, and emotional regulation, which is really important for me to be able to manage. So I think I'm going to stop there. It's such a massive area. It's so interesting. I mean, I probably know very little, despite lots and lots of reading, especially recently. I think there's so much more to it, but hopefully in what I've just been talking about, there's something that maybe is new for you. I've put some links in the blog for further reading if you fancy it. And in the meantime, have a cracking week, and I will look forward to seeing you guys next week for episode 3 of Dive Into the World of TrueStart. Have a good one. Bye guys. Cheers.